last time on Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
This guy comes up looking much like one of the Geico cavemen. Had a beard similar to my beard in college. Very
wispy.
It's very patchy at best. It was Patchy Adams looking beard. And then awkwardly, I don't know if it's because of his height or because the guy was trying to get a recurring role. You know, it was early enough in the series where he thought, maybe if I act it just right and add some intrigue to the character, they'll bring me back. He doesn't make eye contact at all.
He's got this 1,000-yard stare. He's like looking past Cisco the whole time.
And O'Brien, everyone he comes in contact with, he's staring at their cheekbones or their shoulder blade or something like that.
And now the conclusion.
The wormhole does bring them our way, doesn't it?
Everyone wants a piece of the new frontier.
And I'm sure you've already tried to sell it to a few.
You don't know what any of this is about, do you? You just don't get it.
That sound you hear is the wormhole opening and closing, like some intergalactic sphincter. And you have into, you know, there's some, don't worry, there are some Klingons around Uranus as well.
Yes.
And you are listening to
Audio Umox
with
Simon Van Gelder, and I'm John Christopher.
I am Tosk.
Yes. Aren't we all?
I am Tosk.
Yes. Is that your name or your species?
I am Tosk.
All right, so we're going to do this for 45 minutes.
Oh, it snorted. I am Snort of Tosk. Oh, yes, you have reached Audio Umox, and we, if you haven't guessed, are talking about Captive Pursuit. A great, well, I should not presage this, a very interesting first season episode of Star Trek Deep Space Nine, the preeminent Star Trek series, and Captive Pursuit. And John Christopher, how are you?
I'm doing well.
Besides being Tosk, how are you?
I am Tusk. That's maybe that's the space version of Hua, where in the military, Hua could mean I'm doing good. It could mean yes. It could mean no.
It's funny.
Hua?
Like when you would, I remember back in the day, I'd hear former President Bush go, oops. I'd hear former President Bush like speaking to military audience or army audiences, and they'd say, "Hua," and then they'd say, and then he'd ask a question. They go, "Hua," and it was weird. I was like, "Oh my God,
Yes.
it's like aloha. It's more than one meaning, isn't it?"
Yeah, it is. It is.
What does that hua mean, by the way?
Some of it is just basically a grunting noise. There is some historians claim that it is an acronym for "Hurry Up and Wait," which became famous as a military acronym. But
that's right after Kilroy was here. That "Hurry Up and Wait," right?
Yes, I don't know that anyone knows to be sure that history.
What about Al be sure?
He's Tosk.
All right. Well, maybe we need to just get into this Tosk person. But before we do,
But first, the trunk.
I'll let you go, John. You go first. What kind
Okay, since the primary protagonist recurring character in this episode is Miles O'Brien,
Miles Edward O'Brien,
our chief. I'm assuming chief warrant officer. Is that his official?
I would thought it was more of a chief
rank?
petty, like a master chief petty officer type.
Yeah, that's true.
Not a warrant officer.
Navy, more Navy than Army.
Yeah.
So in his honor, I'm drinking a Guinness West Indies Porter, nice full-bodied Irish beer.
Oh, that's great. I wish my Tranya were a little more appropriate. I stuck to the tried and true. I hit the replicator and just said the usual, and I've got myself a Vesper Martini.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Hey, this Tranya
can't go wrong.
No, this is Simon Van Gelder's Tranya, man. This beats the Agony booth any day.
Very good.
By the way, folks, if you're listening to the show, and of course you are if you're hearing me, and you haven't gone to iTunes and given us a review, listen, now more than ever, that's important. We're into our 6th episode, and we need to get a review or two up. It's not that hard. You go to iTunes, where you're subscribed to this podcast, you hit a few stars. That alone is helpful. You don't have to do anything else, but it's even more helpful if you hit 3 or 4 stars, or even 5, and say, I love this podcast. It makes me laugh and gives me some trivia about Star Trek Deep Space Nine I never heard before. Boom. That's it. Or you could just write, I get all my Tranya tips from this podcast. I mean, it's that easy.
You
If you want us to write it for you, we can. It's that simple. So here's the deal. If you don't know how to do it, get a hold of us on Twitter. We're at Audio Umox. Is that right? Or no, it's on Umox Podcast. I'm sorry, on Twitter.
Umox Podcast. That's right.
Umox Podcast on Twitter. Just contact us there. You can, in front of God and everybody, or the wormhole and everybody, and just say, I don't know what to write on my iTunes review.
And I'll tell you, I don't know what to write besides, it's a tremendous show. I love it. It's perfect. It's wonderful. The orange characters are my favorite.
Is that Harvey Firestein?
I knew you. I freaking knew you'd do a Harvey Firestein. I'm still working on I can't even call him president. I'm still working on my imitation of that jackass. So if you like what we're doing and you want us to continue, I mean, honestly, hey John,
please help.
Let's call a spade here. Can we just let's just do it.
Wait, we need help.
We need help. And here's the thing. We're not doing this necessarily for plaudits or anything like that, but we got to know you're out there. Right now, our downloads are not epic. They're not even worthy of season 1 of TNG. If we don't start seeing some serious uptick in love, and when I say love, I just mean reviews and some uploads, well, we might at the end of the season have to decide whether or not this is something we want to do.
We do not want to end up in the wormhole.
We don't. I'm not trying to ransom anybody and say, if you don't tell everybody we're great, we're going to be done. And just imagine that coming out of Captain Jaheel from the last episode with that immobile face of his and his Geico caveman face, and he's looking past you with 1,000 yard stare. That guy was creepy. I have nightmares about Captain Jaheel, by the way. I'm going to shut up now and just say, get on the Twitter, follow us on Twitter at Umox Podcast. Give us a review on iTunes, please. We're also available on Stitcher, Google Play. We also have a desktop listening place too. If you go to my Twitter stream at Umox Podcast, you'll see, if you just go scan through it, you'll find lots of links and different ways to listen to us. Retweets from there are gold. If you can retweet like a link to the episode, all that stuff. Sorry to have to burden you and plague you with help, asking for help for promotion of the show, but that's what it's all about. Honestly, it costs money to make a show. It costs a lot of time to not only research it and record it, but also to edit it and produce it. It's a labor of love. Don't get us wrong, but
it's not just me laughing for an hour. It may seem like that. Me stammering and laughing for an hour, which most people don't pay a lot of money to hear that, but I
mean, and you wouldn't believe how much editing work takes to get rid of his stammering and my meandering. I mean, there's a lot of editing work to go on there. So anyway, all right. Thank you. If you're listening right now, obviously you have my thanks as Tosk. No, I'm sorry, Simon Van Gelder. I thank you. I'm sure, John, you...
I am in complete agreement.
All right. All right.
So,
well, why don't we get to Captive Pursuit? I'm going to turn it over to John.
Very good. This is season 1, episode 6 is what it is called. However, it's really the 5th show. I think Emissary, because it was a 2-parter, counts as 2. So we're really now starting to get into the show. This episode, as I run through the plot, damaged alien vessel docks at the station. O'Brien befriends the mysterious pilot who is being pursued by a predatory hunter. So as the scenes open, Sarda, who's a Dabo girl, comes in to complain that Quark is sexually harassing her. And
wacky rapist Quark.
So it seems like a bit of a throwaway scene to start with because it has really nothing to do with anything else in the show whatsoever.
Is it making light of, is it making Quark, who basically is a sexual predator at this point, into some kind of lovable scamp, or what is that?
I don't know. And for Cisco to just go, oh, I'll take care of it, but him not be, it's not addressed anywhere else in the show. He's obviously not kicked off of the space station.
Well, I mean, it's so funny because Sarda refers to the Ferengi print as opposed to the fine print. It was just
that was kind of cute.
Cute line. Yeah. If you look in the Ferengi print, but at that point I'm watching and I'm going, at that point in the series. Now let's forget you've seen the rest of the series. You're thinking, even after his actually semi-heroic appearance last episode, you're thinking, is Quark worth the trouble? Because, I mean, basically, he's extorting sex out of his employees. But I guess the thing to remember is the Ferengi, that's just how they view women. They're chattel. That's what it's all about. I mean,
maybe, yeah, you have to take it culturally at face value. And
not impose your own cultural beliefs that's improper.
Exactly.
Yeah, that may be the way they're going.
Maybe, and that seems to be a plot theme of this episode as well.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. So anyway, so Sarda's got her little gold bow on to take attention from her eyebrows.
Her awful makeup, actually. There's nothing. See, and then you think, and I want to say there's nothing attractive about her because of the makeup, but then I think, oh, there you go again, applying a humanoid standard to an alien physical beauty. See, these are the traps you fall in.
Very well. We get through the throwaway scene, and
the throwaway scene. There's a lot of those, aren't there?
There's a couple. So then a ship. So everything I guess they just didn't want to start with this much intrigue and suspense all at once. They had to warm you up, get you used to the fact that you're in space. You're no longer sitting on your couch. And like kind of here's a business as usual deal for Commander Cisco. It's going to be an ordinary day where sexual harassment is part of what he has to deal with. And then, oh no, neutrinos coming, and the wormhole makes a noise in the vacuum of space. Wow! I mean, have you noticed that? Like, I have. That's pretty interesting.
It's like, damn, man, that wormhole.
It's got to be pretty loud.
It sounds like an industrial strength toilet. Boy,
does it flush clockwise or counter?
It depends on the Coriolanus effect, I guess.
Yeah,
or is that the Coriolis effect? I'm not sure.
There you go.
Depends if you're in Australia or United States.
There you go.
All right.
Depending on where your wormhole is. So a ship from the Gamma Quadrant emerges
90,000 light years away
from the wormhole and is damaged. Cisco et al. Hail this vessel and basically tell him he's going to ship's going to fall apart unless they bring him in for repairs. And so they convince him to let them tow the ship in using a tractor beam. And for me,
it's a John Deere.
The look of defeat on his face when he agrees to the tractor beam is priceless. And of course, he's also wearing, is that another Garrick suit?
I think he is definitely wearing something from the Garrick
it's
Toughskins line. I think
it's Garrick inspired, if not. It's like
it's
made of
Garrick's Toughskins line, yeah.
yeah, it's made of designer purses from the 70s and the flesh of his enemies or something. I don't know.
I think it was one of those hook rugs that they unspooled. But anyway, yeah. I think the skin of his enemies is probably more likely.
So then Cisco, of course, first he sends the Prime Directive out the window. And then sends.
And that made no noise.
I have no interest in meeting someone from the Gamma Quadrant, a completely new species that we've never encountered before. I'll go ahead and send my chief of operations. I understand why he did it, but it just.
I'll send the super. I'll send Schneider from One Day at a Time with his belt with the keys jangling. I'll send the super down because you got a relationship and his ship he's working on. Yeah, I saw that and I was like, what the F? What?
Yeah, it was peculiar at best.
I'm not being snobby here. The Chief's one of my favorite characters, but first contact situation, you practically put on a dress uni. And you bring the whole command staff down. You don't send, I'm sorry, the janitor down there. Boom.
Boom. Yeah. I thought that was peculiar, but
I think Cisco is still mad that, every time he drank some Ractogino, man, it tasted like molten lava or urine or something.
I was like, what? Yeah, maybe this guy's carrying something. I'll let you be first contact.
Yeah, you go check that out. And if you get aphasia again, you're on your own.
There you go. So he goes, introduces himself, except the guy is invisible at this point. He gets on the ship and keeps calling him friend. Good
buck friend, ook.
Or that's the equivalent in the 24th century of saying, "Hey buddy, I can fix your ship." Magically appears after Miles says,
"Hey bud,
hey friend, hey pal, hey buddy." A few times. That always puts invisible aliens at ease. So right? He finally appears and says, "If
only it was Vincent Price."
Hey, I can fix this ship." And the alien says, "Oh yeah? What do you know about my ship?" And so they talk for a while.
Does he ask his name at this point? I'm trying to remember.
Yes, he does.
So
right when he introduced
is he just naming like a rather disappointing follow-up to Rumors at this point?
Well, one thing I wanted to mention was just about the ability to self-cloak.
Yeah.
That was similar to me in most bars and around any group of women under 40 years old. It just... Unfortunately, I don't have the ability to control the cloaking mechanism. It simply engages of its own volition.
I have that ability myself these days at this age, by the way. I did not have it as a younger man. I'm not going to say, but I mean, nowadays.
I had my moments, but most of the time, the cloaking mechanism fully engaged.
Right. It's like they always ask Captain Picard, "Are you single?" And he would say, "Engage."
Yeah.
God, that's your old joke, really?
Sorry. Is that my joke?
You used to say it all the time. Man. All right. I'll have to cut all that out. All right.
We continue.
We do.
So this reptilian creature appears.
Scary.
Smacks his head because he's startled by the guy appearing out of nowhere. Right. And introduces himself as Tosk.
See, and I thought it was Bossk from The Empire Strikes Back, one of the bounty hunters. Did you notice the similarity in the outfit and the makeup?
I am not a Star Wars guy.
I'm not a huge one either, but if you look at the scene in Empire where all of the bounty hunters are arrayed around this pit on the ship, on the destroyer, and Vader's like talking, and the Admiral's sniffing around going, "What are these trash doing here?" There's one called Bossk, and he looked a lot like Tosk.
I see.
But the deal is his arms are all like thrust out in front of him. It's like, how does he operate a blaster? Because his arms don't appear to move. But he looks Bossk and Tosk look very similar to me.
I see.
And I'm going to challenge all of our Star Wars fan friends to make a side-by-side photo comparison and post it on Twitter.
Very good. That would be great.
If they don't do
But
it, I will.
now I will say costume design and makeup art was inspired by an alligator and did get a Emmy nomination.
Oh, it did. Well,
for makeup. That particular costume
it did work well.
and makeup. Yeah. And it was well done. And once you got past the shock, it didn't look fake or uncomfortable.
It really didn't. And Scott McDonald did a nice job inhabiting the makeup and the costume.
Right.
He really did a nice job. Guy who, by the way, played numerous characters in the Star Trek verse. That's short for universe. I'm trying to sound all brown coat, Serenity, Firefly, cool by saying the verse. So there you go. It's my crossover. Right. My second sci-fi crossover comment of the evening, by the way. Star Wars and now Firefly.
All right. O'Brien now convinces Tosk that he can fix the ship. It's going to take a couple of days. We just got to put it up on the rack. Change the oil but it's got to cool down. So
you're right. They've got to vent some plasma out of the AC, right?
So let's go for a romantic walk on the promenade.
Yeah, why not? The intergalactic flea market known as the Promenade. Yes.
So Miles shows Tosk around the station. They walk past Bashir. Again, this is one of those things. I would think Bashir would be all over this new guy that has never been seen before, just from a medical perspective, to see a being from the Gamma Quadrant that had never been seen before. You would think he'd have the tricorder at the ready, just wanting to, up and down,
just waving
scales.
Like that little spice rack thing at him. Yeah,
exactly. But he doesn't. They just have a cordial, once over, and
they drink a cordial, really.
And Tusk takes a look at the infirmary there very briefly, and then they keep going. Head on over to Quark's, of course.
And I'm surprised they didn't go to House of Garrick and get some more tough skins.
He could use it. He could have used a change of clothes, I'm sure, after that chase he took through the wormhole.
Oh, you just know that he's got some stank on him. But all right.
So Quark kicks out some cheater, again, another kind of random thing, just to explain how different the cultures are. We're different. I don't have time to explain the concept of cheating to you. I'd rather buy you a synthale.
Right. There you go.
And
does Tosk drink that synthale? I don't recall. Does he actually? They don't show it.
I saw him looking at it,
right.
But I don't know that he actually picked it up and took a sip.
And by the way, why were they drinking synthale out of a coffee cup? I thought that was a continuity error. That's a coffee mug. That's not a synthale tankard.
Agreed. And that's this. It's a different color, but it was the same mug that burned Sisko's mouth in the previous episode.
O'Brien! God.
So they get to Tosk's quarters and really seem to be kind of hitting it off, or at least both exploring each other. And
what? I missed that scene. Were they really? Whoa.
Just getting to know each other. I think appreciate each other.
Did he call him buddy or pal or bud?
Culturally. None of that. But did discover that Tosk only requires 17 minutes of sleep a day.
Yeah, well, back when I was his age, my refractory was about 17 minutes. Don't brag.
and stores liquid nutrients throughout his body and
in his plasmic fibrous areas.
Yes,
another likely story.
Something like that. Yeah. So doesn't need to eat. And O'Brien leaves. Tusk immediately starts asking the computer some serious questions about, where are the weapons stored.
Every episode, some alien is shown the keys to the kingdom, and then they can get on the computer and say, "Hey, how do I I don't know, either A, take over the station, B, see other characters naked, or D, C, find the weapons. I mean,
It's
computer's like,
there's a Sliver episode of Deep Space Nine.
There's totally a Sliver episode. There is. Oh my God, there is. You're laughing, but there is one coming up, season 7.
Okay.
Sliver,
right.
seriously.
We'll get there.
God. It's with Dax, with X-ray Dax.
Interesting.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
So while Tosk is exploring Google Maps on the computer,
and it still gets him lost. He ends up in that place where all the rodents hang out in the cargo bay. But anyway.
But they randomly have a abstract painting hanging.
Yes.
Okay.
Notice Odo blend into the Geo Metro.
O'Brien then. Tusk is on his own. He's talking to Google Maps. Alexa, where are all the guns?
Alexa,
where are all the guns?
I dare you all to play this through your Alexa because it will stop and go. Brrr. Yes.
Alexa, where are all the guns on this ship?
I don't know that.
O'Brien concurrently talks to Cisco, lets him know that Tosk is hiding something. He doesn't know what it is. He knows he was shot at through the wormhole, even though he won't admit that.
God,
he knows he got some
shot through the wormhole, man. That's some serious shiz, man. I mean, you can't sit right for a week after that.
I'm sure it is. Pretty tough, buddy.
Dangerous bit, man. Tell you what.
So Cisco tells Odo, keep an eye on him. O'Brien, you keep an eye on him. And they part ways. Back to the ship.
What ship?
Tosk's ship.
Oh, okay.
The ship. They're trying to magically, going to replicate some stuff. And they had some kind of tech speak going back and forth about my RAM scoop is trying to have some sciencey talk
they
about
the tech, in other words. Yeah.
Right. And we'll just replicate a new one and without the flaws in it and fix you up and change your air filter. You'll be good as new.
That's right.
Right.
Because that's the Midas way.
Right. So, but the two of them, it seems like with Tusk being this natural straight man, the two of them are getting along great. I think O'Brien appreciates him because, he's not yelling at him or staring off past his shoulder or doing any of the not drinking doesn't have to drink his scalding hot coffee. This is a good
being
day.
Yelled at by Cakehole,
Exactly. Because he can just do his job, and he appreciates that, and I think also appreciates that Tosk doesn't understand fully a lot of sarcasm and some of the jokes that Miles is throwing down, and so having a natural straight man, I mean, in some ways it was kind of a throwback to some of the Data episodes on TNG,
right?
Where it's like, I don't understand. Or
Spock,
yeah. The difference is Data could go back to his memory banks, and this guy is completely lost. So.
Enough comedy jokes,
right? So they've worked on the ship for a while and decide it's time to take a break.
It's
so
Miller time.
So they go to Quark's for a drink, and
is this where they meet Odo?
No, I don't think Odo's there.
Oh,
I think O'Brien's just trying to learn more, and Quark's trying to cash in on this guy to show him the holodeck and introduce Quark's money making schemes to Gamma Quadrant occupants and passengers, travelers, passersby, etc. And there was that interesting line just Tosk told Quark, which was that I live the greatest adventure one could ever desire. I thought that was funny.
Well, apparently.
And highly aspirational.
Is this the Dabo scene where
it is? There's a couple of people in the background. It's a little goofy, and I see this the guy running the Dabo table is doing some kind of a
Hand jive.
I've got no gold pressed latinum up my sleeve, and
It's a
there are
variation
no
of Garrick's Jazz Hands Haggle.
there are no
Episode 2.
Dabo.
Well,
I have no idea how Dabo is played. So is there a spinning wheel involved?
It's
Is there a
a
roulette?
lot like roulette mixed. It's a lot like roulette meshed with baccarat and probably craps is what I would anticipate. But did you notice one thing? Here's a continuity, but it's kind of it's not really continuity error yet because it's such a new show. But did you notice that the Bajorans, the way they applauded the success, they applauded the way humans do. Now, if you keep watching the show, Kira in particular, they begin applauding, but they don't applaud with two palms together. They applaud with one palm striking the back of another hand.
Interesting.
But you'll see that. That's
how they clap. Okay.
Oh, sorry. So you'll see that. So that's just something to watch for, is that the evolution of, and that could have been, I don't know if that's right along the same lines of Nana, visitor, Nana. I don't know if it's Nana saying, I think Bajorans should clap differently, just the way Spock said, Leonard Nimoy, as you say, Nimoy, as Leonard Nimoy would say, hey, as a greeting, why don't we do a variation of more of like, but it was like something that the rabbi did in temple, and that's where you got the Vulcan hand salute. The mother was ill.
It was one John.
I've got to put that on. I'm out of nowhere. That's just going to be in there, by the way. Just be ready.
It was one Tosk.
It was one Tosk. Anyway, so I don't know. God, Jesus. I hate when I do this because now I have to go back and edit. See, when I'm sitting there editing, I hate myself. This is funny now, and it's funny after it's done. While I'm editing, it's like, God damn it. So I don't know if this was like Nana was like doing a Nimoy and saying, why don't we Bajorans clap in a different way than humans? And so keep an eye out for that. Just something I noticed.
Interesting.
So
they part ways. O'Brien goes to Ops. I'm assuming Tosk needs his 17 minutes of sleep, and at Ops, O'Brien's really getting to know Tosk. It speaks pretty highly of him. Tusk, however, is getting into trouble. Found his way to this weapons storage area. Conveniently, Odo happened to be there, disguised as a painting in the background. He's like some abstract painting.
Blends into the Geo Metro, a la Janine Garofalo, one of her early bits. Again, and that begs the question yet again, why can he make a perfect abstract print and not do a perfect human face?
So what I'm thinking is, what if they should have had the painting be the scream, and it was Odo's face on the scream, and then it morphs into
Oh my God, because Odo does look like the scream. He's like Munch's the scream. My God. He is. That's him. That's Odo.
There you go.
Mike Westmore, the legendary makeup man, we're on to you. We know where you got it.
And how did Odo choose that specific location? How did he know, assuming there's more than one weapons store?
I think he was stalking Todd.
And how long was he there?
Well, Odo has the patience of,
but every 18 hours he's got to regenerate.
Yeah, well,
right?
Yeah, but I know, but I think he stalked him. I don't think it's that I don't think that is out of the realm.
Okay, so we'll take that as plausible.
Mm-hmm.
This is a Cardassian ship. Are there paintings on the walls anywhere else on the ship, on the station?
Why was there an abstract painting in a weapons locker?
Just randomly there, nowhere else on the station.
It was obviously something from the Steven Seagal collection. I don't know.
And I don't know. Maybe I'm being too ticky-tack technical, but he does get arrested. he tries to go back and forth, but
and he says, "I am Tosk," and Odo says, "I'm sure you are."
I'm sure you are.
I love that.
But the force fields seem to stop him, and he runs back and forth for a while, and then just gives up and gets taken to the brig or the to jail, and
where he's going to be scared straight by Morn, who says nothing.
But at this point, he's kind of Tosk is done, and he's really just asking O'Brien to let him die with honor.
Yeah,
which he delivers that much better than Worf's son Alexander.
All you care about is your honor.
Anyway,
we've been bond-sold.
Next, ship with a similar signature comes flying through the warp
with sound accompaniment.
Of course,
it's like they flushed that GSO toilet again.
But this ship is fully armed, ready to go, make short work of DS9's defenses.
What doesn't?
If I were them, I'd be pretty scared that just one little ship coming through. I would be ready to just blow up the wormhole and call it done. If one little ship can do that, what if an armada comes flying through there?
Oh, an armada.
Armada.
Wait, yeah.
So anyway, they get through the wormhole, take out the defenses, obviously have advanced technology, weapons technology, and then Daft Punk beams aboard right onto the promenade. I was just waiting for Cisco to put on his hawk shades and start singing Lose Yourself to Dance. Lose yourself to dance. Come on. Sweat.
And then just
But that didn't happen.
Looking right at the camera and going,
So instead of losing themselves to dance, they start fighting their way to the brig, which doesn't make sense to me. If they are that high tech, couldn't they have just beamed directly to the holding cell?
Well, I could have, but they're all about the hunt, right? I mean, they're in their cheesy unis as it is. These Daft Punk hunters, they get into this little firefight, and where I noticed that Odo gets a handful of Major Kira. You know what I'm saying? He gets some Major Kira in his hands.
Hey now.
I mean, did you see that pic? Man?
I did not notice that. What I did notice, however, was that when Daft Punk cold cocks Odo,
a little bit of cold cock.
So was he too impressed with their awesome uniforms and helmets to realize, hey, I'm a shapeshifter. I could just turn into liquid and their punches wouldn't go through me, or I could turn into cast iron and break their hands, or I could turn into shape of a giant ice wall urinal. Whatever he wanted to turn into, he could. But he chose to just get punched in the face and knocked.
It's all about
out.
the experience, and I think maybe he was hoping that if things got crazy, he might get a handful of Major Kira.
Well, it looks like he did.
Looks
like he did.
We will try to save that. I will try to save that photo for the show. That's right up there with the 1,000-yard stare photo right there. That's even better. But it's clearly like, you knew after the scene was over, Renee was getting a talking to from Nana. Like, look, man, don't be grabbing my titty. Really. And it's so funny. It's just, it looks to me like a kind of a Daft Punk versus Predator cosplay going on here with these unis. I mean, it's just,
it's something.
I'm not impressed, but all right.
Yeah. Make short work of the station.
Then they kind of create
interior, just like they had made short work of the exterior.
Right, and they use like a digital shower curtain to transport in and out. Have you noticed that?
Yes.
It's like you can pick that up at IKEA, I think.
Blow up a wall, pretty easy. They've got their little
about?
Electric crossbows. And,
they stole that from Chewie. You know they.
And get to Tosk. who is, of course, completely humiliated.
Is this Tosk
because-
1.0, by the way, on Comedy Central, or?
Yes. Yes,
All right.
it is.
Just to be sure.
Not nearly as funny, I don't think.
I don't think so either. And we need more people like with video getting hit in the balls for this to be as funny as Tosk.
Is that 2.0, 1.0?
2.0, whatever,
Tosk 0.0.
whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes. Cisco and the hunter start debating about hunting a sentient being and how terrible that is, and you should not do that. And the hunter whose species really never is given a name and never appears again.
Yeah.
And
I've got some dirt on that for later if you want to get into that. Did you notice there was a Cakehole slam from Quark, the barkeep, too, in there somewhere?
Yeah, that was the. I think that comes in a little bit when they're talking about the argument.
Oh,
right there
okay. Because it seems like early on they just totally wanted to make sure that Keiko O'Brien is a total shrill bitch that nobody can stand. They have done everything they can to hobble the development of this character.
Yeah, I agree.
It's not
Because at
fair to
the very end, Cisco does it too.
Yes. If you do this again, your
wife won't be able to bitch anymore.
I mean, it's just relentless. Like, and if
I'll
I were,
slap her Cakehole.
I'm telling you, if I were the actress Rosalind Chow, I would have been like, look, I know I'm not even a regular, I'm a recurring character, but God damn it, treat me with some freaking respect.
Yeah.
Jeez, you've made me the most unsympathetic character since.
Right. I'm the nagging housewife.
Frank Burns. I mean, jeez.
Yes. Yeah.
And like I think right around that time, the Ferengi rules are mentioned, but they're not of acquisition. Did you notice that?
I didn't.
Yeah,
I didn't.
Right around the time of the Quark, the barkeep, and the Cakehole slam early on.
Got it.
Ferengi rules were mentioned, but it was never rules of acquisition. So I thought, wow, my lobes perked up about that.
Interesting. Right before the bar.
Yes, sorry.
And one important item is that everyone's upset, but the Prime Directive is back in the window at this point, and they're prepared to release Tosk to the hunter as is appropriate for their custom and their culture.
Right.
And the Prime Directive would restrict them from violating that unless Tosk asks for asylum. And of course, O'Brien runs to him, says, hey, all I have to do is ask for asylum. And Tosk refuses, of course.
Right.
And he believes that it would be an even greater humiliation to avoid his fate, be it death, be it humiliation. Those are his choices. There is no third choice to avoid his cultural fate.
Well, yeah, because he is Tosk.
He is Tosk. He is Tosk.
And in the end, aren't we all Tosk in our own way?
We are. We're all the hunted.
Gotcha.
At the bar, Quark and O'Brien are chatting.
Right.
Quark, this is where
the Cakehole barkeep.
Wait, you fighting with the wife, huh? Like that Cakehole, man.
It's all over the station. What incredible!
How much she hates it. How miserable she's making life for him, and how she's bitching all the time.
It's horrible.
It's either the school, the marriage, the space station. Everything sucks.
I expected Quark to say, and you got her a replicated bell, and you thought that would work.
She just used it to hit him in the head. In a classic left-handed compliment, O'Brien compliments Ferengis for being so good at rule breaking, and because of that, comes to this kind of epiphany, a Kobayashi Maru epiphany, and quickly leaves the bar.
Can I say how much I hate those kinds of scenes and shows, by the way? They're having a conversation, and then somebody, like another character, is like going on, droning on, and then it's like, ding, a bell went off, and the other character's
I got
eyes
it.
light up. By Jove, I've got. It's just so hackneyed. It's really
Yes.
bad. It's really bad. It's right up there with the waking up in a cold sweat from a nightmare scene in books and movies. I can't stand that
Right.
either.
Yeah.
Not saying I haven't written it, but I'm just saying I can't stand that. It's just so hackneyed. But go ahead.
Sure. O'Brien then tells Odo he was ordered to personally escort Tosk to the exchange because it's a Starfleet matter, not a Bajoran matter.
Yeah.
Odo is livid.
He's
He
always livid.
Stomps his little booties
Oh, those
over
booties.
to Ops.
His little Ugg boots are just quivering.
Miles takes off his comm badge, tosses it, and they're on their way.
You know, the comm badge is really a lot like the analog to the modern, contemporary day cell phone. You know, it's like,
Oh yeah, I agree.
I've got to be honest. This little device in front of me, is never more than a foot away from me at all times, 24 hours a day. Just saying.
Me too.
Yeah.
It's a sad statement,
Oh,
probably.
dude, it's like when I go on vacation and when I actually leave it like in the hotel room locked in the safe.
Yeah,
I feel like I'm getting away with something. Like when I was 16 and I would sneak out and
I feel anxious for about the first 48 hours.
I know you do because I've been on vacation with you.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
once I break free, I enjoy it.
You know,
but
that's true
it
about
is
you.
it is
That
a struggle.
So true about you. And by the way, I'm not criticizing you, but this is true about you. It's so, because you have a high stress job and it's so ingrained in you, right? Check
Yes.
email, make sure I'm available. But also, as a parent and a husband, it's ingrained in you. You have a hard time just going, I'm going to take an hour, maybe two, and go sit at the bar with my buddy because you're so concerned that, shoot, do I have an obligation back with my family or something I need to be doing? And that's not a criticism. It's something that's part of you. I've noticed this.
It is.
It's and by the way, don't for a moment think I don't have a similar deal. I think mine's a little less pronounced because I have a different career circumstance than you,
Mhm,
and I don't care about my family as much as you do. But
Yeah. Well, some of it is probably I don't want to get into this prolonged psychological
quite a build-up, wasn't it?
psychoanalysis.
It was a great build-up, wasn't it?
It was. That
Thank
was,
you. I thought you'd appreciate the build.
But yeah, I think it was also ingrained by family
Sure.
responsibility.
Growing up,
Being in the military responsibility, and this overwhelming fear of failure. So if I missed something, then they'll either find me out or they'll replace me, and I'll come back to nothing.
Oh.
So,
Okay, well, we can take this. We'll take this offline because one, your family would never replace you. They adore you. Two, I'm your best friend, and
agree.
I would never do that.
Thank you.
And you know what? Jobs come and go. So
True.
To be continued on that. But hey, look, you know what, listeners? If you didn't care about that, tough shit. This is about us. We're talking. All right, go ahead. Go ahead.
Let's continue with the episode.
That's
shall
what I'm
we?
saying. Go ahead. Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
O'Brien takes his cell phone off.
Right. Goes grabs Tosk
By then.
and is walking to the exchange concurrently. Then O'Brien, the hunter, and Tosk head to the ship.
Orion, the hunter? What?
Yes. O'Brien, the hunter,
okay.
and Tosk head to the ship. The hunter enters the airlock, but there's a power grid that checks for weapons.
Right.
Something goes wrong with that. The grid overloads, knocks this guy off his feet. Miles finishes him off with a right cross.
You've been O'Brien, buddy.
Almost as funny. Glass jaw.
That was a good line.
No wonder you wear a helmet.
It would have been fun. Yeah, that was good. Or it would be just as funny if Tosk had done it, and then O'Brien said, "Ooh, a hand-tossed pizza delivered with your left."
Aha!
Aha! But no, I think the glass jaw line was pretty funny.
Back in Ops, Dax locates Tosk and O'Brien in some crawl space, but Sisko tells Odo to take his time.
And so Odo starts walking like he's got like a load in his pants.
How could you tell? So after some fighting, and maybe they killed Daft Punk. I don't know if they just knocked him unconscious or if they killed him. I'm not sure. They go to Tosk's ship. He invites Tosk invites Miles to join him and become Tosk as well. Miles thinks about it for a while. It's like, Cakehole, Tosk. Cakehole. I'll stick with what I got. The devil you know.
The devil you know. Yeah.
And they say to each other, "Die with honor,"
right?
Which is their, good luck, or their
it's their kapla.
Wait, it's their kapla. This is their way to say goodbye, and we are now blood brothers or whatever.
Yeah.
Final scene: Sisko gives O'Brien a firm talking to,
dressing down,
and just says, you did everything wrong. I have no idea what I'm going to say to my superiors. This is a first contact situation which
I blundered by giving to a non-commissioned officer.
and then O'Brien asks, why they didn't catch him or just put up some simple force fields to trap him, and Sisko said, I guess that one got by us, and then smiles wryly, and as O'Brien leaves, and that's the end of the episode. So,
yeah, so I did a little research, and it turns out that the Tosk. Now, we're going to get in at the end of this season to the Dominion, and it turns out that the Tosk were probably a genetic creation right up there with the soon-to-be revealed Jem'Hadar, which are the genetically engineered soldiers of the Dominion. And apparently the Daft Punk hunters were supposed to be kind of their overlords, and who answer to the Vorta, who in turn answered to the founders. But somehow that never happened, and I suspect the reason is because the hunters' uniforms were shitty, and it did look like Daft Punk meets Predator, and it was unnecessary, and it worked just fine. We'll see that as we proceed.
Okay.
I don't have a lot of trivia for this one. I'll just go with it. I'll just say I like this episode. I enjoyed Scott McDonald's portrayal of Tosk. There was a little bit of a robotic quality to the line delivery, but I understand he's kind of finding his way through the universal translator and all that. I thought as a physical performance, I thought he moved well in the makeup and the probably very uncomfortable Garrix of Detroit costume. I think he did a nice job. I think it's interesting that you see a lot of main characters as window dressing. I mean, how many lines does Dax even have in this episode? It's she's there, you see her.
Right.
It's kind of like she showed up, got her spots put on, and probably had the rest of the week to go, audition for Becker. So, I mean, you didn't see a lot of that. But I thought that this was a character building, if that makes sense. As a writer, it's not quite expository in the sense of, and O'Brien's Irish. No, it was more expository in the sense of adding another layer to him. I mean, we got to see him in the last episode babble as being, frankly, kind of, bitchy and complainy about his job.
He was, and then he got struck with aphasia early in the episode.
So he really didn't spend a whole lot of. We didn't get a lot of time with him. This one became more about him, and he got to do this. And call him Meanie. He's a great actor. He's really enjoyable. Yeah. It's interesting. I teased this on our last podcast episode. So the head of the Hunters was played by the great Garrett Graham, who, if you've seen Phantom of the Paradise or Used Cars, if you saw him without makeup, you'd know the face. He's a great actor, good character guy. He was a finalist to play Odo along with Andrew Robinson. Now, Andrew Robinson got Garrick. We've discussed this previously. I won't rehash it. And Garrett Graham got one guest spot, and I think he got another guest spot in a different series of Star Trek. But Garrett Graham, it would have been cool if Andrew Robinson was playing Garrick in this episode too. We would have had all three actors in one episode who were finalists.
Maybe playing Dabo together or something.
Something, yeah, and
or rock paper scissors for the lead role, right?
Right. I think it turned out the way it should have. I read an interview with Garrett Graham recently. He's unfortunately had some poor health. He's not be able to get around much, and so his acting career is fairly limited these days. But he's put out a lot of great performances, and I advise you, if you've never seen Kurt Russell in Used Cars with Jack Warden, check it out. Garrett Graham plays kind of the kooky friend of Kurt Russell. He's really good. And if you've never seen Phantom of the Paradise, he plays the one of anyway, you can't miss him. So that was interesting. I'm trying to think here. I'm not seeing a lot of other major character development other than Sisko's kind of gotten into a groove of, you know what, I'm going to pay attention to what I think I need to pay attention to, and other things I'm going to start delegating to other people. Right now I got an issue where I've got a wacky rapist running a bar. So, we got a first contact situation. Probably not a great decision. Let's give it to the chief petty officer to go handle it.
Right.
I don't agree with that decision, but of course, whatever. I think the only logical way to kind of put this round peg in a square hole is just, well, the guy needs ship repairs. We don't want to freak him out. Dax is like, let's don't freak him out. Let's ease him into let's boil the frog slowly. So we'll send the chief.
And it's not like Miles didn't have that kind of experience. He is a person that was on
the flagship,
serving
under Gene Luck Pickard,
and probably had many more first contact situations than Commander Sisko, who was just a shipbuilder there most of the time.
John, you made a hugely good point. That's really good. That's a great point. I mean, you don't serve on the Federation flagship that is charged with exploring and seeking out new life and not have. God, you're right.
They probably had weekly first contact drills on the ship and said, "Here's what you do. Here's what you don't do. Hey, what's our mission statement?"
And unfortunately, Cakehole never went to any of those.
No.
Yeah. So I think you're right. That's a good point. So I'm going to throw it to you. Do you have what are your general comments, and then we can kind of get to Latinum and
for me, other than Emissary, it's one of my favorites so far.
Oh, is it really the favorite?
Yeah, one of them. Yeah, I think so. It was some of the basic plot is a little contrived. It's the most dangerous game in space.
Right, but it didn't have iced tea.
But
lemonade.
Despite some vigorous objections to the hunted thing, it wasn't too judgy. I didn't think.
Not too preachy.
I thought they could get into a preachy thing about our species is so much better than your species because we don't do that anymore.
Yeah,
and
our species is way better. And
it didn't go there.
Right.
And it deferred to the Prime Directive.
Gotcha.
Albeit there was something of a workaround by trying to return that relationship between Tosk and the hunter back to where it was prior to the meeting. In some ways, it honored the spirit of the Prime Directive, even though it violated it all over the place.
Yeah, that was a good reach around.
So I enjoyed it. I liked the suspense of it, and not having seen it before.
Right.
I got through halfway through the episode before I understood that he was the hunted, and that was his role. So that turn, that little twist, I found interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Again, even though that plot has happened before, it was not exactly what I had expected. I was thinking maybe he was on the run, maybe I didn't know precisely. So that was good. And as you mentioned, the acting, the interaction between O'Brien and Tosk Tusk was well done.
Mhm.
It seemed pretty natural and simple, and so I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I do too. So how many bars of Gold Press Latinum are you going to give it out of 5?
I would give it a high 3. I was
Mhm.
gonna get up to a low 4, but I think a high 3 is a good spot.
I can't disagree. I'm going to give it a high 3 as well. Maybe 3 bars, couple of slips. So yeah, high 3.
There you go.
Yeah, what about a deep sex nine? Was there anything hot in this episode for you?
Those red eyebrows. No, there was not really much of
Yeah,
anything.
it just
I
yeah.
was what do you have one? Or are you gonna go with Odo's unintentional boob graze, or
I would say the unintentional. Well, we assume unintentional. I'm going to assume, yeah, Odo's getting 2 scoops of some major Kira, but it wasn't sexy. So
that's true.
we
That
have to
wouldn't
remember,
count.
Deep Sex Nine has to be like a sexy moment. It can't be like a cheap sexist moment. You know, it can't be like,
Right.
oh, that gal looked great in a bikini, or wow, he accidentally grabbed her boobs. It can't be like that, or it has to be more of, is there something romantically sexy going on? And so far, there is no Deep Sex Nine. Is there any Deep Sex Nine this season we've picked yet that I can't recall.
In Emissary.
Well, we thought Jennifer looked great on the beach, but even now I'm thinking
Yeah.
back, was that just sexist because she looked great in a bikini like Marilyn McCoo, or is it because
Probably.
it probably was a little sexist? Yeah, but
Yeah.
So no Deep Sex Nine on this one either. Well, do we have any potential for next episode, John?
Think we do.
What do we got?
It's an episode called Q-less,
Oh,
where the Q shows up,
oh boy.
but is also joined by archaeologist Vash.
Oh, say no more.
She arrives from the Gamma Quadrant as Q plagues the station, and an unknown force threatens to destroy it.
Oh my God. You know, I just have to say that anytime Jennifer Hetrick showed up on TNG or DS9 or even, God forbid, Voyager, I was watching, because
Yeah.
I just thought Vosh was a very sexy, fun, wonderful, intelligent character. So now I'm also looking forward. You know, I got to be honest, and we'll talk more about this in the episode. I think Q is really a cheap plot device in a lot of ways. Although don't get me wrong, I love Q for a lot of reasons, but by the same token, Q, it's cheap. I mean,
I agree.
it's cheap.
I didn't like him on The Next Generation.
Oh, not at
and
all. Not at all.
Not really. I mean,
Not
there
even
was
when he
there
gave Riker
was a
the cigar and.
Oh,
come
it was
on.
like a comic relief.
It was, and like any creature that has omnipotence,
Right.
It's
not.
like,
I will say, in The Next Generation, the episode in which Q gives Captain Picard a glimpse of his future if he had made
oh yeah,
a couple more safe choices.
sure,
That was a good episode.
that was.
Yeah.
We you know, if we have, who knows, if the show keeps going, we might drop back and pick our top 5 or 10 TNG and original series episodes and cover those. That's
Sure.
assuming people give a shit about this show. So far, not so much.
So back to, we need your help.
Yes, please.
If you like the show, tell your friends.
Yep.
First.
Yep.
Please rate us on iTunes.
Please.
Write a positive review. It doesn't have to be anything lengthy.
No. That's what she said.
And share us. We post links to the podcast on Twitter.
I would be happy with a 3 or 4 star review that said, good show, except they need to work on X, Y, and Z. I'd be thrilled with that. Now, if you're going to write a 1-star review, well, just go about your business. We don't need that. But I mean, if you want to help us, 3 to 5 stars helps. We know for a fact this is not a 5-star show, but if it's 5-star to you, if it's the thing that helps you get through the week, hey, I've got podcasts I listen to that aren't produced perfectly, that sometimes the jokes get old or the information is stuff I already know, but I like the people doing it, or I like the effort enough to give them 5 stars and give them a review. If you feel that way about us and you want to encourage us, please do that.
All right, my friend.
All right. So next week, we're going to be looking at, the name of the episode is
Q-less.
Q-less.
And yeah, get your lobes ready.
Man, they should have just said it's Bosch, period. And I would have been like, yeah. All right, then. Well, until next time, he's
John Christopher.
And I'm Simon Van Gelder, formerly known as Tosk. And you've been listening to Audio Umox. Until next time, the docking ring is closed.
I am Tusk and I live for the hunt. To die with honor is all that I want. They are the hunters and I am the prey. My own ambitions be got killed someday. I am Tusk, I am Tusk, I am Tusk. I am Tusk, I am Tusk, I am Tusk. I am Tusk, I am Tusk, I am Tusk. I am Tusk, I am Tusk, I am Tusk.